Hello and welcome to another FM show. You'll realise that it is Ryan presenting tonight. Paul isn't here because he's had trouble with his laptop and I think he's gone to bed. He's had a busy day. But we have got admin Ben here. Say hello, Ben.
Hello.
And the admin that had to come back, Jay's here.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. We have plenty of topics to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about how you pick your team. Paul has done a post for us, so he's not just sitting away in a corner crying somewhere. We have the Regen of the week that we have every week, how to choose the right affiliate and feeder club, expensive players, and then if we have time, we're going to look at all-time favourite FM players and quickest goals on FM. But we'll start tonight with how you pick your team. And I'll just get the post up here that Paul has done. Paul has done a post called Picking the Club, which you may have seen has been promoted quite a few times on FM Central this week, where we notice a lot of people who start saves every now and again and then they quit that save because they're not sure, or they get bored of the save. Paul does it sometimes. I'm not sure if you do it, Jay. I know you have your lower soft save going, but if you ever had to start a save and thought, no, I don't like this save, I need to start a new one.
I did it loads on FM14, but low soft's been different this year. I must have 30, 40 saves on FM14.
I know you had your Astra save going, Ben. You carried on from Astra to Crew, didn't you? Or did you start again?
Yeah, no, I'm still there now. I usually have one long-term save throughout. Sometimes I start ones every now and again. I haven't really done it this year though. I have a lot more time before, so I did that a lot more. But yeah, I'm just sticking to my long-term one for now.
Yeah, I mean, we do know a lot of people do struggle. So Paul has made this very simple but kind of detailed post with four simple steps. We've got here step one: pick the level you want to manage in. Some people want to manage in the top level. Some people want to manage in the middle. Some people may want to challenge and go for the bottom and work your way up. I know for me, years ago, I'd always like to be Man United because that's the team I support. But now this year on FM15, I set the challenge of trying to take Coventry to the heights they had many years ago. That failed. Then Paul set me the challenge: how long can it take me to get to Man United? So bottom level was the one for me. Step two: start eliminating the clubs you don't want to manage. So if it was me and Ben, I don't think we'd ever manage Manchester City or Liverpool. Jay would probably never manage Ipswich. I don't know if you ever have, Jay. Maybe you have out of some curiosity. Maybe you wanted to take them down. And then step three, look at their history. Maybe you want to manage a club that's never won the Premier League, never won anything in their life. Maybe you want to make them win a trophy. And then step four, look at their finances. Obviously, you've got teams like PSG who have loads of money. Barcelona, Real Madrid, they've all got loads of money, so you can find the players quite easily. But then the teams like lower stuff. How much transfer budget did you have when you started your save, Jay?
None.
So there you go. Jay had a massive challenge, and then now he's in you must be in the Premier League.
Yeah, Premier League. Third. I could go top if I win the next game, though.
And then Ben was at Astra. I know he didn't have a lot of money because he's told me a lot about the save. What about when you went to Crew? Did you have a lot of money there? Was it zero there as well?
Yeah, it was. I've literally had no transfer funds until this current season that I'm in, season 4. This is the first time I've been able to spend money in this Football Manager.
So yeah, all three of us here have gone for quite a challenge. You'd probably say now a lot of people may look on the group and go, "Oh, I'm in Barcelona," but look through my post, you'll see the teams that I've managed. Some teams like Cheltenham, here, some random team in Russia that decided to hate me, and I decided to leave. Real Madrid, Man United, they all have big budgets. The teams in the middle, we've got Espanyol, Hoffenheim, and Toulouse, who can have money. I think Toulouse are one of the top clubs. Then teams where you may you may struggle. You may have a bit of challenge. Crew, which Ben is at. Alves, which I think is that a Brazilian side.
Alaves, they're Spanish.
Spanish, maybe. Shows how much knowledge I have of football teams around the world. Leipzig, which is the German team, I believe. Yep. I'm doing well here. And then the real challenges of Oviedo and San Marino and Wrexham. So if Nicholas is leading them to the Premier League on FM14, I believe.
Yeah.
But if you do want, I think we may look at, and I may try and speak to Paul, sort of guide to questions that we can have, and then we can have I got anything down the side? So many things open. Let me see.
Hey, one thing before we move on a bit though is that is a really good article. One thing Paul didn't touch on is sometimes it's better just to go for the club you support straight away, just to kind of get used to the new game and try and get a feel for how things have changed since the last edition and everything. I usually do that when I play Football Manager for the first time each year, but I didn't do it this year because I wanted to see how Football Manager Man United would work with Louis van Gaal. But decided a different challenge. But I don't know. Sometimes that's a way to get back into the game and find your the team that would suit you.
Okay, Butcher 47 says the audio is. Well, I assume you can both hear me, right?
Not all the time.
I can hear you both.
It's starting to cut in it. I know, actually.
It is rather sketchy. I just thought it was just me, so I kept quiet.
Really? Maybe it's the internet here. Maybe the internet hates me to having this. But we will move on to the Regen week, and I chose this at the very last minute. Yamal Torres, when the picture decides to load. He is a. Do you remember the player? You may have to describe.
Can you guys hear me? I think I lost you.
I can hear you fine, Ben. It's just Ryan. Is Ryan there still?
I think we've lost Ryan, and we have no images.
It's fine. I can remember what he looks like off by heart. He was the player I signed. He's a Colombian freebie. I signed him. That was when I started getting really cheap and buying loads of these players in for free. He used to play centre attack and midfield. His stats are insane. You can't see it because it appears to be frozen, and we've lost Ryan.
But he didn't come. Did he come through your youth system, or was he one you brought in?
No.
How did you find him? See, that's something that
I was searching through all the because this is the stage where I started getting into spending hours upon hours upon hours of scouting players, of setting which stats do this, which stats do that, picking every single stat, setting from 13 minimum, looking up like this, and I found him just by chance of one of them. Just picking stats for each position. I had a few others like him as well. I've got loads, and I started. I got a bit cocky with my stat save. I named my under-21s the Pointed Development Program, and I brought in loads of youth players, and I just basically trained them for a few years. And then I got to the stage they were in there for 3 years, and they weren't good enough for the first team. They went.
Well, fair enough. If you can get some money for them, that helps as well.
Yeah, I was picking him up. I was getting most of them in the free, moving them on for 2 to 3 million most of the time. A couple sold for 4 or 5, and maybe sometimes even more. But he was one of the main players I've got as well with Everton. I don't know how it just says Everton. I don't know how to say. I'm just going to say Everton to make some because he's Brazilian. He's another one I got on a free, and he just plays just like him. They're both fantastic players, and I think Ryan has joined us again.
Right, okay, and welcome back. Everything just died there. The apocalypse happened for this FM show. Paul will be happy. The fire alarm was going off in my house. Someone left the oven on. My kitchen is now blacker than the chimney sweep's face. So it's all happening here in Worcester. But we are back, and we're gonna go from where we left off. We were just talking about affiliate clubs, so we'll go back from what Ben was saying. He was just asking me how I pick my clubs, and in the notes before the show, I was just saying before we went off air, I choose my clubs that I want to link up with. They have to have good youth facilities, good training facilities. I need to make sure that they're actually going to pay the player. That's never going to happen. They're going to pay the player so the player develops, especially if they're a youngster. Sometimes I like to send them to a certain country, like if I have a link up, so they can gain a work permit. Maybe some of the working clubs I like, say if I don't have a knowledge of a certain country, I'll link up with a club in a random country so I can boost the scouting knowledge of the club. And the club, especially if I'm sending a youngster, they have to have good youth coaches so the youngster can work with that certain player. Is that the sort of things that you would agree with, Ben, Jay? Any of you can comment here?
Well, yeah, you said about you look for in a feeder club. I don't even bother paying most of the time, unless it's like a tight choice. I don't even look at their facilities. All I look at is my player going to be playing every game if I loan them to them. I don't want to be sending players to be sat on the bench because I'm obviously you don't normally charge a wage to send it to an affiliate, so you're still paying their wage, and you want them to be playing. If you're going to be paying, you want them to play. You don't want them to be sat in the reserves just as like, well, just in case my third choice keeper gets injured, I've got this guy. It's brilliant. I always make sure.
Sorry, I think if the training facilities are poor though, they won't develop as well. Or I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
I think it probably affects it a bit, but I just look for first team football.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just think that's
I
the most
think
important thing.
I know with some links they usually have at the start. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was just making sure. JJ was interrupting. I know for some links I'm making sure because sometimes I read like players like Barcelona can send a player to whichever feeder club they have, but the club that they're sending to doesn't have to pay the player. They don't have to pay. They don't have to play the player. It's just their choice. If Barcelona want to send him and he sits on the bench, just recall him. That's what I've done. I've sent players out. If they're not playing, I recall him. He can play more times in the Barcelona B team than he is sitting on the bench in some random country where he may not be happy. Just recall them. This is the perks of having a feeder club. You can recall the player whenever you want, I believe. In certain leagues, I don't know if you've ever had times when you're not in the transfer window and a player is still out on loan and you want to recall him, but you can't. Has anyone ever had that?
Not for me, no, because I don't really tend to loan him out unless I don't want him.
Yeah, it's very true. But I have got a massive. Go on, Jay.
I was going to say I don't loan first team players out. Anyone that I'll need, I don't bother loaning them out.
Do you loan out your most talented youngsters though?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I loan out if they've got a youngster who's not going to get any first team football at me, I'll loan him out. I bought this young player. I think I was talking to Paul about him, and I must have paid 4 or 5 million. I think I paid for him in the end. He's who I've got on loan at some team in the Czech Republic. He's Czech Republican. There was a relevance to that.
Yeah.
I sent him back to his home country just so he didn't get like homesick or something. I just wanted to send him back there, so I've got him out on loan because he's playing first team football there. He's playing every game in that season, and if that's what it's going to take to get him first team football, then I'll do it.
Fair enough. I try and give my youngsters minutes in, if I'm winning comfortably or in cup games and things like that. I guess it's just different ways of developing, but it's good to know that works. I might try that if I don't have any room for a particular player or whatever.
I'd love to be able to have the ability to switching, getting 16-year-old player I've got on my under-18s, but all my players who come from my youth intake, apart from 2 through this entire save, have been useless.
Fair enough.
Every youth player I've got that's any good, I've had to buy.
I think that's we see that quite a lot on the group. I don't know if you two actually see it. Someone will go, "Well, I've got excellent new facilities. My scouting knowledge is amazing. Yeah. I've got amazing youth coaches. I've got an excellent head of youth development, and here's my youth intake." Sometimes I don't bother commenting. Sometimes I just go, "You can't expect a worldie in every single youth intake. They just they come out of the blue and they're amazing when you start getting the sun on FM. I've never had one. Jay's had one. I don't. Ben, have you ever had one?
No, I tried reloading for an hour once, and I was like, forget this, not doing it again.
It's worth it. The pride you feel when he scores. It's overwhelming.
One in a million chance. 1 in a million chance to get a son. Probably 1 in 100 chance to get a future Ballon d'Or winner through the youth intake. But even if someone is rated 1.5 star in the youth intake, you can take them. I've done it. I've done it through this save. I found them 1.5 star. I've looked at his stats again. Not a chance. He's a 1.5 star future player. Start developing them. Use the coaches that you have. If you have good coaches, like I have, I don't know if anybody you know of him, Rafael Borelli, I think his name is, Spanish, amazing head of youth development. Develops my youngsters really well, and I refuse to send them out on loan because I'd rather see them playing in the Barcelona B team where I've got these amazing coaches, and they just develop. Eventually, I'll get to the stage where they're about 20, 21, and I've got to decide, are they going to play first team football in the future? If they're not, I'll sell them on. I've made so much profit. It doesn't really matter. If you've got the good coaches, then they'll develop. I'm not sure, what are your coaches like at Crew, Ben? If you've got some good, I assume you may have some good youth coaches if you're at Crew.
I try and develop them whenever I can, coaches. Most of them are not very good at all, and there weren't many when I joined, because if you remember, I didn't join from the start of the game, so Steve Davis had a long time to ruin the club, which he did fair. Didn't quite manage it though, so I've been trying to pick things up, and with no budget and everything, it's been hard. But this season, I was able to get some good coaches in, so I'm building. But when it comes to youth and stuff, I always every season, at the beginning of each season, or just after the youth intake, I'll look at all my players. It takes a couple of hours, so it's probably not for everyone, but I look at them all and I try and decide who's developing well, who isn't, and then move on the ones who aren't, promote the ones who are. Like, I've got this 16-year-old at the moment who's well suited to kind of a central midfield with a defensive duty. So I'm trying to rotate him with my first teamers just to give him some game time and see how he actually performs. Because, like you said, sometimes you'll spot a guy in the youth who they don't really rate very highly, like a couple of stars or whatever, but he's got good attributes, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I can do something with that, and he has the right personality. So then you just give him a go, and then, oh, look, he's actually playing well, despite the numbers that he's got in his profile. And I don't know, I try and go on performances in the games and stuff, rather than just the cold, hard stats, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll go. I'm gonna test you here to see. I put a few teams in. I know. Actually, no, you'll have the notes. But anything from there, because I got most of these teams that I've got on the notes, like Boca, River Plate, Central Coast Mariners, all excellent youth players. I'm just about to screen share a post from a fellow fan site, Passion for FM. Screen share. Here we are. Who is looking for a feeder club with excellent youth facilities. I can't remember the name who runs Passion for FM, but he has done a massive list. You've got here Espen, that's the one. Argentina, put a load. Armenia. Would you ever think to link up with Pjevnik? I wouldn't even know how to say that name. That sounds like a team I'd love to link up with. Australia, I'm actually linked with Central Coast Mariners because Australia has a nice close link to my heart, so I have to link with an Australian club. Austria, I think it goes all the way down. He covers a lot. So wow. if you ever are struggling for a random club to find, like where was I reading earlier?
Might go and have a bit of a raid of their youth academies later.
There you go. Like Nigeria. Would anyone ever think to link up with a club in Nigeria?
I've got a Nigerian club, Enyimba or something like that.
Yeah, but look, we've got Nigeria here, FC Ebide, with great youth facilities. So they're going to have some good youth players. If you have the Nigerian League open, go and link up with them. Just above here, we've got Morocco with Academy Mohammed the sixth. Is that? I'm not very good at Roman numerals.
Yeah,
They've
that's
got
Yeah.
established youth recruitment, great youth facilities. Just look all the way through this list. I haven't actually used this list for whenever I link up. I just usually go by the reputation of the club now. Now I'm at Barcelona because I'm able to link with clubs like Ajax, and think I'm going to try and work in the future to try and get a link with a top Premier League club. But just look through this list. It is extensive to say the least, which we know Passion for FM are quite well known for their very long posts. But something like this, if you are struggling for a feeder club, go and look at this website, look at this post. Top clubs with the best youth facilities. If you do need to find some young players that, if you're crew and you need some young players to loan, massive list here. It'll work. It'll help you no end. I'm sure. I don't know who it was in the background saying "Wow." It sounded like Jay.
It's probably me.
It probably was, but extensive list to say the least. But we're not going to steal work from other fan sites. But I will get.
There's a few names on there though that I noted some down before we came on, and some of them aren't on there, so I don't know if they're just good on my game or something. But I've got Harbour View in Jamaica. If any of you have ever looked at that.
Yes, I've heard of them. Yeah.
I got an absolutely amazing player from Academy Belgium.
Yes, I've heard of them as well.
One. And I looked at his Ukraine one there, and he hasn't got Metalist Kharkiv, and they always produce good players.
Yes, it's just a matter of some fan sites will miss out. Sometimes you just have to go and search yourself. Like I'm sure you've actually searched yourself, Ben, and looked at the clubs, because youth facilities over. I mean, I'm in 2030 now. That list may be highly useless to me.
True,
I could have someone who had poor facilities at the start. They could have excellent youth facilities now. I have to take the time to look. I've just linked it with Ajax, so it's going to be a couple of months to a couple of years to I can ask to link with another feeder club again. But take the time. This is what FM is all about. Take the time to look for these feeder clubs. Look for players. It's going to be worth it. But we will move on from this, and we'll move on to. I know Jay wants to talk about this. Expensive players on FM. As we went off air when the whole world exploded before he was talking about how English players, and it happens in real life. Look at the likes of Andy Carroll, who cost 30 million, Luke Shaw, who cost Man United 35 million. Outrageous sums, but it happens on FM as well. You can tell everyone the story now, Jake. How rude of me.
That's a bit insulting.
Tell everyone the story now. What you were saying about the English player. Were you trying to buy an English player and they countered with an outrageous offer?
Yeah, there's been loads of them. You know, those the classic story of every save I have, I try to buy the Murphy brothers. Never been successful. But at the minute, I'll find a player, just pick a player at random. There's a player called Harrison Reed, youth player.
Yeah.
Look at him now. His stats would not get into my first team in the ever. Looking at his he's got quite average stats. Sort of mainly, all the main ones are 13s and 14s. I could probably pick up a foreign player from maybe Brazil for maybe 3 million for his stats. And the stats that he's valued at 12.75 million, and they want about 20 million for him.
But they don't have to sell it.
That is the issue. They don't have to sell him. Usually, I mean, I've had a player called David who, when I was at Arsenal, he came through the youth academy and like, this player is going to be amazing. I've left, gone to Barca. They had him on the loan list. I thought, he's coming to Barcelona. I think he had an average of something like 7.78 over the season. I thought, I have to put in an offer. I think I put in an offer of at least 40 million. I thought, oh, they're going to grab my hands off. Nope, they countered with 180 million.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So,
I looked at
okay.
I looked at another youth player, and they wanted. There's basically a hands-off warning. If people go, oh well, I'm never going to be able to get that player. Why are they asking for 120 million? It's a hands-off warning. They're basically telling you to do one.
Exactly.
Yeah, unless you're willing to spend world records.
Yeah, I've
then
just
you won't do it.
Yeah, basically, I've just made an inquiry for that Harrison Reed. I think he's a Southampton player, isn't he? In real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want 20.5 million up front, 6.75 million over the next 12 months, and 20% of the next sale. And I could guarantee for that money, that exact round that money, I bought in Zulu, who you've seen earlier, who's a world-class player, and I can guarantee will win the Ballon d'Or before he retires. And he's only 21, 7 years younger than this guy.
I know why they put that in though, is because there used to be loads of complaints in Football Manager that clubs would just say no, he's not for sale, and because everybody would always say, well, every player has their price, and this is the compromise for that. It's the club saying, well, if you really want to buy him, then you're going to have to give us a stupid offer.
Yeah,
I quite agree with that, but you do often see like people going, why that's stupid. Why have they counted 240 million? That's because they aren't going to sell him.
Yeah.
Mm.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
He's not.
There are ways you can get around it, and sometimes you have to look at FM, and you are a manager. You have to look at it from a business sense. The way I do it, which is the way I did it with David, is how I spoke earlier. I went straight away in with the offer that I was kind of willing to pay. I was probably willing to go up to 50 million because he looked that good, and I think he's going to win the Ballon d'Or in the future. I started off at 40 million, and then they countered to 180 million. I thought, even if I go up to 50, they're going to start countering me again and again and again.
Yeah.
So it's completely useless. But if you have a player, like Jay is saying, they're wanting 22 million, how much would you say you're willing to actually pay for this player?
To start with, he's not even good enough to get into a Premier League squad. But with his stats, you could get a foreign player better than him for 4 million quid. About that.
True, but that's reflected in real life as well, isn't it? It's the homegrown element.
Yeah. You pay for that. You pay for that tick on your forms, don't you, for the homegrown bit?
Always start the way I look. Always start just below the value you're willing to pay, and then if they counter just over what you're willing to pay, start building it up and building it up. Sometimes the negotiation can take a few times, and sometimes they'll say, we haven't made enough progress, you'll have to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Start building it up and building it up. Even this FM manager business, it's a proper business. You're trying to buy players. FM is trying to make it as realistic as possible, and that is as realistic as it gets. Keep building up your bid. Add in random things that the player may never have.
Yeah.
Ben may find a player and he can add in. When he's made an international appearance, he may never make an international appearance, so he'll never have to pay that certain amount. Start adding in that. He'll play 50 appearances. He may do, but add in a little amount. You'll get the player. Sometimes you won't.
I usually do that for them. You had like a clause in for once they score 30 goals, you 20 million or something. Yeah. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, unless they're at your club for God knows how many years.
Yeah, but it'll give you a warning. Then never just get rid of them.
Yeah, start selling them. But the last resort is, and I've heard Ben this say many times, if the value over what you're willing to pay, move on.
Yeah, find someone else.
There's thousands of players, and there's bound to be someone out there who may not be the quality of the primary player that you wanted, but there's definitely players out there. Find a youngster, look in your youth academy if you have an amazing youth academy, and try and develop someone. It'll work. Move on.
Made there in the Q&A from British Rail 47 saying, I don't get why the computer clubs get players cheaper than players managed by a human manager.
It is true, I do notice that. I think it may be something to do with the coding of FM. They know that you are the controlling manager, and you have to try and.
Oh no, I don't think that's true. I don't think.
Go on, Ben.
Human and AI. I think it's supposed to just try and treat everything equally. That's why you have access to the same stuff the AI does. But I do see what you're saying, but I think what it does is. It's basically trying to say, I don't want to sell to you for that price.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like me. I'm trying to buy the player from Arsenal. Arsenal and Barcelona aren't rivals, to say, but they are a team. I think they're just behind me in reputation in the world, and I think they are the richest club on the game at the moment.
Yeah.
Probably due to my amazing management when I was there, when they won everything. But they're just behind me, and they're not going to want to sell their top youth prospect, which he is an amazing player, and I probably may have to put him in for Region of the Week in the future. They won't want to sell him, but if someone buys him for cheaper than I'm willing to pay, then I may throw my laptop up in the air and the world will end again.
Yeah. Thing is, money isn't always everything, is it though?
Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, add a couple more million in that other team, and you'll get." I don't know if I'm giving the game too much credit here and giving the coders too much credit, but maybe they take into account player preference and things like that. I don't know if it's hard coded into the game. I don't know if I'm giving them too much credit, but they might have.
It may be. Because it is in there, sometimes you just have to look quite deeply into player's profile. He may say doesn't want to play in La Liga. I'm not sure that'll be true with David because he come to me on loan. Arsenal just don't want to sell him, and I don't blame them because he is a top player. He played with me in the World Cup and still managed to get an average rating of something outrageous like 8.1.
Damn.
So he's going to be a top player in the future, no doubt. And I'm going to keep watching him. Maybe if Arsenal don't play him, because they've still slumped him in the under-21s for some strange, bizarre reason. But if I can buy him, then happy parties in Worcester. If I can't, and he goes somewhere else for cheap, then I'll be throwing my laptop up in the air.
Yeah, that is really annoying.
Yeah.
So, but we shall see, and we shall move on from this topic. I'll see. All-time favourite FM players. So, who is yours, Jay? We'll see. Go on.
I wrote down a list of 3 players. It worked out. It didn't mean like this. One from the last 3 FMs that I've played. But I think my overall favourite was Yaya Sanogo.
Really?
Yeah. What FM was that?
I think he came around on 2013, 2012. Where he used to be this player you brought in from France. Can't remember who it was now. AJ Auxerre.
Yeah.
Used to bring him from there, and he used to be a fantastic player. You used to be able to get him for 5 million, and he used to come turn into one of the best strikers in the world pretty quickly.
Pity he didn't turn out like that in real life. Anybody else, Jay? Is there still time? True, yes.
There is.
We can discuss that on a Monday night show. Who's next, Jay? If you've got a list of 3, this is well organised. I've had to try and think things as I'm going along.
I got a few when we're ready.
Go on, Jay.
For this FM, I've written down Dan Walker. Now, I don't think probably no one would have heard of him. He's a
lower league player.
Maybe lower league management you would have done if you like that sort of thing. He plays for Braintree originally. I signed him in my first season for Lowestoft, and he's just insane. He used to play on the wing for me, and I've never had a better player who's been more all-rounded as a winger. He's just fantastic. And then we go on to my other favourite striker, who was last year's, and that's Gary Martin.
Yes, I think everyone loves.
He was with me.
Everyone loves Gary Martin.
Yeah, he was with me. Made the entire save. I sold him a couple of times, but then I sort of got a bit
upset.
Yeah, I got a bit upset.
You missed your friend.
I kind of missed him, so I brought him back.
Well, okay, Ben. You've got a list. Everyone seems more organised than me today. Go on, Ben.
I got a top 3 as well, but it's probably more for the older players because they're all pretty old ones.
Go on.
Andrew Sigthorsson from Championship Manager 3. He was he was an Icelandic striker who you would find at KR, I think, Reykjavik.
Ooh.
And he
Jay loves KR.
You could get him for about, I think, between 90 or 100,000 pounds for any club, and he was an absolute worldie. He would just score buckets of goals for any club you had. It was amazing. Same for Bakayoko in Championship Manager 97-98, who Everton obviously ended up signing in real life, allegedly because of how good he was in Championship Manager, because they had that link with Sports Interactive. Didn't work out so well for them. But the other one is Tonton Zola Mukoko in Championship Manager 01-02, who...
Jesus, who did he play for?
Derby, believe it or not. He was
Really?
yeah, I know, it was mad. No one's ever heard of him except in Championship Manager circles. He was attacking midfielder, Swedish slash Ghanaian, and I don't know. You just get him in your team, and he would score. He would get assists. He would score goals. He would absolutely run the show. And I don't know what happened in their programming to make him so good, but I don't think he ever made it in real life. So it must have been something that they completely badly misprogrammed, or something went wrong along the way. But I think I remember Miles game, Toe Madeira. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No, doesn't ring a bell.
I think he put himself in the game like just for a laugh, just to say I'm in the game. But he made himself really good, and then for a while,
Yes.
everybody was signing this guy, thinking, "Wow, this guy's really good." And then I'm sure he ended up getting fired for it. But it's one of those kind of Easter egg sort of things that you hear
Yeah,
about.
I know. I know they didn't they make up a player as well that was they made him really good, but he was never actually a real person. They just made this player up and
I
they
heard of
placed
that.
him in.
Yeah,
They placed him in. I think it was some random African team, and they had to players would have to find him, but he turned out into like the Lionel Messi of the game
yeah.
now. But I've just been thinking as we're going along. I have got a top three now that I've just been writing them down on FM14, and I'm sure when Paul listens back, he'll agree with me. There's a player who's Belarusian called Bresson, who I'm sure I don't know if any of you have heard of him.
Yeah,
No,
I've heard Paul go on about him.
Yeah, you have Bresson on FM13, FM12, FM14. I think he was even better. You could buy him for, I think it was about the same price as one of you just said. You could buy him for about 100 grand. I think at the time on FM14, I think he'd be about 24. I think it's about 24, 25 now. Amazing player, so versatile. He could play anywhere in the midfield, anywhere in attacking midfield, and at a push he could play up front. Amazing player, best 100 grand you could spend. On FM15 is a player I'm trying to develop on the online league at the moment. Gabriel Barbosa. You have to bow down to him. He turns out amazing. I don't have him on my save, but I've been watching him all the way through. He's at Real Madrid at the moment, and he's just a machine. I think last season he scored something stupid like 50 goals in the La Liga. I'm like, I think he's 32. I'm like, wow, you're still scoring 50 goals in the La Liga, and he's
That's
like,
brilliant. 50 goals in a season.
yeah, he's a monster. I don't know who's developed him, because Real Madrid keeps sacking their manager, but unless he's just gone, I will develop myself like a Cristiano Ronaldo type. And then one player to me, third, is not actually a real player. He was a regen on FM14 who I had at Man United, and he won the Ballon d'Or 12 times in a row. Joe Thompson. I got him from, I'm trying to think of they're playing in Scotland. That's not going to really narrow it down. Hamilton. Do they play in green? I'm sure I got him from. I'm not sure. Some team, some team, maybe. I got him from some team in Scotland for very, very cheap as a 16-year-old, and he just turned into a wonderful player. Ballon d'Or, World Player of the Year, 12 times in a row. The crying times I've had not able to play FM14 anymore because I've now got a new laptop, and that save was on my other one. Joe Thompson is always going to be remembered as one of my favourite FM players. Well, favourite FM regen if we're going to be very, very specific. But we'll see. At the moment, I haven't really got a favourite region on this save because I've been jumping around like Harry Redknapp between club and club. I don't know. We have got 3 minutes left. So, I know you're not that far in, Ben, but do you have any regens that you're watching out for?
Just the ones who've come through my academy. I haven't really thought to look elsewhere because I know I can't afford them, so I don't really bother looking yet. But maybe when I hit the Premier League and I've got some money, then I can start doing that sort of thing. But I always look at the free transfers.
Jay,
It's amazing the kind of players you get released.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
Jimmy, sorry.
always recommend to look in January for those players that have 6 months left. You can find,
Yes,
especially in the lower leagues. I did it quite a few times. Look in January, players start leaving, and you can start signing them on a free. You have to wait another 4-5 months for them to come in, but once they come in, you have a team to rebuild from.
Worth
So
it.
yeah. So what about you, Jay? I know you're at lower stuff in the Premier League. Do you keep looking out for regens from different clubs?
Yeah, I spent the whole of yesterday, basically from maybe was it about 9 a.m. to about midnight, just looking for players. Okay.
You, you have lovely housemates.
Yeah, back in a second.
Okay. Well, we'll go to you, Ben. Okay. What about real players that you've been looking out for? Any players that you like? Maybe they're in the same league and you could be tracking them when you want to bring them to your club.
Yeah, I've been doing that with a few players, but the ones that I've spotted myself, or the kind of ones where you think, oh, I've discovered this player, and then it turns out everyone's heard of them. Like Luka Jovic, that's one of them.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about him now, which is frustrating because I'm like, God, I thought I found this guy.
Yeah, I think you wanted him for the online league, and I'd already had him.
Yeah, that's right, bastard.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few like that. There's the obvious ones like Barbosa and Lucas Silva. I love that player.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I bring it up is to get time flowing, but it's just to get the point out there that on any save, you are the manager. Take time to look. I know Paul does it, Ben does it, and I'm sure Jay does it, but I think he's gone to tell off his housemates. Take time, take hours to look through players. I mean, you can't just rely on your scouts. That's the point. Because the scouts, some of them don't have the ability. I know you may not have 2020 scouts in wherever you are. Their ability judgment can be wrong. Take the time and make your own judgment on the players. But we have got to 11:30, and the world hasn't ended when we started, so everything is all fine. Jay is not here, so maybe the world has ended in Ipswich. Maybe some Norwich fans have come to join them in Ipswich are going to war. But who knows? I said thank you for joining us, Ben, and thank you for sticking through after the world ended here.
Pleasure, no worries.
And I'm sure Jay will say thank you at some point, but that's it, folks, and good night.